Afrika mobimba tokangi maboko tozali kotala tolati mokuya ata maloba te Kongo na bana Afrika baleli Oh Medi Ben Barka Medi nzela na yo ya bato nyonso Medi nzela na yo ya Lumumba Medi nzela na yo ya Che Guevara Medi nzela na yo ya Malcolm X Medi nzela na yo ya Umnyope Medi nzela na yo ya Felix Mumie Medi nzela na yo ya Nguyen Van Choi Medi nzela na yo ya Camilo Cienfuegos Medi nzela na yo ya Oji ya Enda Medi nzela na yo ya Camilo Torres Medi nzela na yo ya Abdelkader Medi nzela na yo ya Andre Machua Medi nzela na yo ya Simon Kimbangu Medi nzela na yo ya Albert Lutuli Medi nzela na yo ya Boganda Oh, ya tiers-monde Oh, ya libération, ya pas peuple Un vieux, que je considère toujours jeune, m'a dit un jour Mon petit, tout homme doit mourir un jour Mais toutes les morts n'ont pas la même signification Medi Ben Barka
Whoa, whoa, brothers and sisters, whoa, comrades, whoa, everyone. Welcome to this 21st February African Martyr Days. As you know, African Martyr Days is an institution that was created from the resolution Chairman Omali Istela initiated in 1981 in the first Congress of the African People's Socialist Party. So I want to welcome you all wherever you are. Join this program, tell others, and begin to share straight away. And everyone should share as many times as possible, 10 times, 20 times, but share, and like. A like is very important that everyone comes to see this program, know that the program is very much liked by everyone. Please share and like. So today is a really important day. It's an African Martyrs Day. there is no freedom without sacrifice. And those who knowingly and some not knowingly who gave their lives, who never hesitated in the struggle to free African people, in the struggle to unify the African nation. Today is the day we remember every single one of them. We would like to do it much longer, but this is something we're building, and in years to come, I'm sure we'll be able to do a month-long event where we will remember those who committed the greatest sacrifices and those who fertilized the road to Black freedom with the blood, with the dedication for these 600 years of struggle. So please share widely, and like. And today is a program where we're going to have Chairman Omali Shida, the founder and leader of the Uru movement, and also the leader of the struggle to unify and to free the African nation, which makes him de facto the leader of the African nation, because we can only be free when we have African nation. No colonies, but African nation. And this is the task of the African People's Socialist Party under the leadership of Chairman Omali Shida. So please tell your friend, the chairman will be there, and share widely. And we're going to have a very dynamic, a very brilliant program. We have dynamic program for you today. We will start this program with a PowerPoint, and this is a PowerPoint on African Martyrs. And there's a PowerPoint that will definitely try to give you a bit of background, so everyone, particularly if it's the first time for you, so you can be used to the concept of African martyrdom. There is no freedom, as I said, without sacrifices. So we salute our African martyrs, and you see in this PowerPoint present, you're looking at this slide, you see the giants like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X in the United States. Next slide, please. And we have the chairman of Omali Shida, a leader of, how I say, of the African nation, of the African revolution, and also the one who created the philosophy, the winning philosophy of African internationalism. Is really important. People understand that, because if you don't understand this, you won't understand why the FBI initiated this round of content of a new round of countercensorship. In fact, countercensorship never stopped. You never understand the 29th of July. That's really, 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 really important. So I want everyone to know and to like this program. As I say, the chairman himself is a part of the program. Next, please. The first Congress of the African People's Socialist Party, 1981, adopted the Day of the African Martyrs on February the 21st. And let me just tell you one thing, how significant it is. You can study the classics of like Marxists, throughout the world, Europe, and so on. And they tell you what they did 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and things like that, in trying to shape the world. Now, if you're looking to understand what African revolutionaries have done, I challenge anyone to find a better documentation than the one is provided by the African People's Socialist Party. You want to study the Congress of African Liberation Struggle that is still relevant to this very moment, you have to go to this first founding, to this first Congress of the African People's Socialist Party that determined the day Malcolm X was murdered by the United States government, that will become an international day for African martyrs, not just in the US, but across all African world. It's in that same Congress that also the decision was taken to create the African Socialist International. So it's a historical Congress. So people should Google this, and I mean, I say Google, go through the website of the African People's Socialist Party, the Batting Sphere, and find out more about it. I also want to say one thing, as I've said earlier, the song we listened to, that was written and produced, I think, by Franklin Bukaka, and he was killed on the 23rd of February, 1972, and he was barely 32 years old. So I just want people to know that. So he's one of the martyrs, yeah, you know, as well. Next one, please. To our fallen heroes who gave their lives for African freedom and independence all around the world. February 21st, the day of the assassination of Malcolm X. So it's not by accident that our party, under leadership of Chairman O'Malley, we decided that the 21st is going to be the day of African martyrdom. And you remember the courage of Malcolm X, fearless Malcolm X. So it makes sense that we will not allow the colonizers to use the fear of death, of assassination of our leaders, or anyone who wants to fight for Black freedom to overcome our will or our willingness to fight back and to snatch our freedom. So we took that day as a day, you can call it martyrdom, a defiance, that death will not derail us from our struggle to reconquest our freedom, to achieve Black power over our own lives. Next. The context of this event, the FBI raid on Chairman, Party, and Rural Movement, July 29, 2022. And this is really important because as far as the United States government is concerned, the Black Revolution has been defeated, so there is nothing to worry about it. But the existence and leadership of Chairman O'Malley and the African People's Socialist Party and all the work that's been done in the last 50 years just shows something else. It shows that the Black people's struggle is on the rise. Wherever you look on the planet, Black people's struggle is on the rise. It might not be on your mainstream TV or radio, but the struggle is taking place everywhere, every day. And more important than that struggle to different levels is being influenced by the philosophy, by the thinking, by the strategy and tactics put forward by Chairman O'Malley Shella. That's critical for everyone to understand that. It's not by accident, it's not by chance that the FBI has attacked our party and our chairman. Because you know our slogan, we are winning. It's a real slogan. It's a concrete slogan that reflects the concrete reality in the world where Africans are coming back to life. And also, they coming closer and closer to contact with African internationalism. Indirectly, most of the time, but surely people that know the existence of the chairman, people are debating, you know, what is the philosophy, how it's going to change us, but it's ongoing, debate around the African world. And this debate is being won. And that's what I want people to understand. It's being won. The struggle is not over yet, but our influence is growing everywhere. That's really significance. And as you know, not just the African people, everywhere. If you follow foreign news, when I say foreign news, I mean no English news, no US news, you will see how the debates are taking place in France or Belgium, throughout Africa is being influenced by what the chairman says, particularly on the question of colonialism. That's becoming a central focus, and I want people to understand that. Next slide, please. Chairman and party were attacked because of the 50-year fight for the total liberation of African people everywhere. Absolutely. Chairman has taken the work that was initiated many decades ago by Garvey, then one by Malcolm and others, and he's carrying that legacy today. As I said, we are having a serious impact. We are winning. Next one, please. African people have always resisted the colonial assault on our people in Africa and abroad. You have to be clear, there is not a single day that African people did not resist. There is not a single day in the last 600 years. I want people to really internalize it. You might not be aware of what's going on where you're not located, but everywhere we're located, we are fighting one way or the other against 600 years of colonial oppression. Next, please. African people were kidnapped and forcibly dispersed around the world, building wealth, prosperity for Europe and white people. So when we say this African martyrdom, African Martyr Day, it's in the context, and the historical context is this: we're fighting to get our resources back. We're fighting to get our freedom back. We're fighting to get our land back. We're fighting to unite all Black people once again to be part of a single united African nation. We're fighting to change the whole world so that the world economy based on colonialism is overturned and replaced by a just economy defined by the African working class and other colonized workers around the world. Next. African people stolen resources and labor create life for the white colonizers. So the good life, as everyone knows, life is good in France. Life is good in the United States, and Canada, England, all those places, Germany, Japan. Everywhere life is good is a consequence of a colonial economy. There are no two economies. There is only one global colonial economy whose foundation is based on assault on Africa and later on the rest of colonized people around the world, on the stolen African labor, on the stolen African resources. That's the foundation of the colonial economy. All these successful corporations you see around the world, their foundation is the assault on Africa that started 600 years ago. So it's our wealth we're coming after. Next. Wherever we have been forcibly dispersed, we are colonized in one African nation. And that has to be clear. It's not your degree in university that define your identity, your relationship with this global colonial system. It's not your location where you are in Africa or out of Africa. It's not your football team or, or your musical voice or anything like that. We are colonized people, which means our land, our resources, our labor, the economy that determine every single aspect of our life is in the hands of the colonizers, and we produce to reproduce lives for the colonizers, and so that's really significant. And wherever we are one people. We are African people. That's just dispersed. That's all. But we are one people in Papua Guinea, West Papua Guinea, in the Pacific Island, in New Caledonia, or in Brazil, Colombia, in Africa, in Europe. We are one people, one African nation. And African internationalism is that cement that is making that consciousness aware, but also changing the relationship between the African nation and the colonized nation so that we can be free and achieve or consolidate the African nation. Next, please. We have fought the colonial mode of production built on our stolen labor, resources, and blood. And that's why this is the power of African internationalism. This is the power of African internationalism. Every struggle we're fighting everywhere is struggle against colonialism as a global mode of production to get back our resources, our land, and build future for ourselves. Next. African People's Socialist Party leads the struggle for African liberation and victory. This was a demonstration in London. I'm not sure which year it was, but it was well before the COVID. It was some kind of G20, a demonstration against G20, I think it was. It took place in England. Next, please. Saluting 600 years of African martyrs who always fiercely resisted the European colonial invasion. You're looking at the baser people of Sudan resisting European invasion since Roman times. That's very important to say. No people accept colonial domination. No people. Resistance is normal. And that's what we see African people have been doing since ancient time. Next. And Queen Zing is one of the most known martyrs in our African nation. And he resists the Portuguese and there are even films being made about that resistance. So it's well loved, well known throughout the world for a stance against the Belgian, against the Portuguese colonizers. Next. Queen Mava Santewa of Ghana was a powerful resistance leader in Ghana. You can see African leaders led the resistance, and we need more examples. And this process, I say, we intend to really dig deep, develop more slides with more information so that we can begin to be in touch to know almost instantly all those who committed sacrifices in the struggle for our freedom, and also all the struggles they led in those circumstances, make them much known. Next. The Zulu people of Southern Africa built an army of 20,000 and powerful and fought the British colonizers for 100 years. Just imagine resistance non-stop for 100 years to stop the colonizers, the European invaders, stealing our land. So, and this event basically commemorates all those Africans who died fighting for Black freedom, fighting to keep our land in our own hands everywhere. Next. In the Caribbean, the Maroons resisted enslavement and set up African liberated territory. The Maroon Wars of Jamaica lasted from 1655 to 1738. That's a long time, as you can see. Constant resistance. And this also shaped basically the character of Africans in our island of Jamaica. Or in Brazil, in the 1600s, resistance leader Zumbi led wars and won liberated territory for African people. So, and this, we need not just to teach it to ourselves, but to the whole world, because African resistance is a key part of the history of anti-colonial struggle. And it has to be really, really known, spread. We need to take it to the world. So all these struggles, are magnified, and also the young generation are inspired by those struggles, by these great struggles. Next. On the island of Guadeloupe, the resistance fighter, Solitude, led the fight against the French colonial army while she was pregnant. Can you just imagine that? She was hanged by the French after she had a baby. She's revered as an African martyr in the Caribbean. She needs to be known everywhere, not just in the African world, but we need to take it inside the colonizers' nation too, to know the atrocities they committed, and also to displace, to destroy the myth of the colonial heroes that you see everywhere when you travel in France and other European countries. Or the victorious African Revolution of Haiti, 1791-1804. This heroic victory as a result of heroic resistance of the African workers, the first working class revolution in the history of humanity. It has to be known everywhere. Next, please. You have two great leaders here, Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Toussaint Louverture was kidnapped by the French, and they took him to France and they froze him to death. On the left, that's Toussaint. On the right, that's Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who told Toussaint not to go along with the French in that ship. The French invited him to attend a meeting with them, and he's the one who completed that revolution in Haiti. And he's the one who came with the slogan, Coupe tête, boule caille. Or African Revolution of Haiti, victory in 1804. And this must be taught in every Black country, every Black town, every Black village, every Black community around the world. The victorious Haiti Revolution defeated Napoleon's imperialist army, the strongest army of its time, and established the first liberated African state and first worker state in the world. In liberated Haiti, slavery was abolished by an African government. African and oppressed peoples from anywhere in the world were given safe haven in Haiti, and white people were prohibited from owning land. Over the years, Haiti was brutally attacked by French and U.S. imperialism, which forced Haiti to pay $90 million in pure gold to France. Next. Gabriel led a rebellion in Virginia in 1800. Inspired by the Haiti Revolution, he worked to raise an army of 1,000 African people. Imagine that. We remember you. We salute you. Next, please. In 1822, Telemaque, also known as Denmark Vesey, led an uprising in South Carolina. Also inspired by the Haiti Revolution, Telemaque is an African martyr. Yes, indeed. That to be emulated everywhere. Next. Our great African martyr, Nat Turner, 1831. He was only 31 years old when he died. He led a powerful rebellion in Virginia with the slogan, "Strike at night and spare no one." What a great slogan. Word. Next. In Africa, the Kenyan Land and Freedom Party, also known as the Mau Mau, from 1952 to 1960 for the British colonialism and changed the history of Africa. Liberation struggle. They forced the British and the others to concede to neo-colonialism instead of having direct colonialism. Otherwise, they will have the Mau Mau throughout the continent and throughout the Black world. Next. Led by African martyr, Dedan Kemafi, the Mau Mau army and the Kikuyu people were rounded up, tortured, and murdered by the British. We don't even know how many of our people died there, how many martyrs this struggle produced, but it was butchery. The British killed so many people in Kenya to impose neo-colonialism that we see today in Kenya. Next. Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana in 1960 fought for one united socialist Africa, but he lost power in a coup initiated by the United States government. He has to live in exile, and then he, when he was sick, and we suspect the CIA played a role in that, and that's how he died, trying to get treatment in Romania. But as the great Cabral puts it, he also died of cancer of betrayal because neocolonialism was a part of it. Or African Martyrs, Patrice Lumumba, first leader for independence, Congo, 1960. You all know he united with Kwame Nkrumah. He said, "You want African unity? I agree with you. Let's build it now." And a living witness of Lumumba entourage told them, Lumumba said that was the reason they were trying to kill him. He was killed savagely by the complicity of Belgian and American imperialists. Next. You can see here at the airports being humiliated in front of all these white journalists and all the sellout, the African Petit bourgeoisie watching, Mobutu being one of them, and the colonizers all watching. Or the African Revolution in Azania, Robert Mangaliso, Sobukwe, and the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. You can see the influence of Nkrumah and the influence of Garvey, of course. You can't talk about Nkrumah without talking about Garvey. And Sobukwe is also a great leader for African solution for Africa, and if developed this position on the land question. Africa is our land. Next. African martyr on the Azania Francis Biko, murdered by the colonizers. Sobukwe dead was Stephen Biko that became the face of the emerging African revolution in the 70s in what they call South Africa today. So great leader. Another young African martyr. He was only 33 years old, I think, when he was murdered by the South African Central Colonial State. Next. Amilcar Cabral, giant of African revolution in West Africa. He was assassinated by the alliance of the neo-colonialist forces and the Portuguese in West Africa, just before the Declaration of Independence. Next. Thomas Sankara and the struggle in Burkina Faso, African martyr. Sankara was assassinated on October 15, 1987. He's the one who changed the name of Burkina Faso. It used to be called Upper Volta, and he changed it to the country of a land of a man or women with integrity, the upright people. That's the name of the country today, Burkina Faso. Or Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. He was one of the few, if not the only leaders in neocolonial Africa, basically, who believed in some kind of a unity of Africa. And many people believe that was the reason he was assassinated. He was ready to formulate the African Union that will have one currency and, build from there. And he was, as you know, assassinated, murdered bestially by the French and the U.S. imperialism and others. Or salute our African martyr, Marcus Garvey, and the UNIA. The colonized people don't die naturally. Garvey was so young, as you can see. He was maybe 50 something when he died. There's a mistake here on his birthday. He was not born in 1916. He was born, I think, 1887. So self-critical for that. Now will have to be changed. So that's Marcus Garvey, the giant of African national liberation struggle. Giant. When I say giant, because the African People's Socialist Party stand on the shoulders of a giant like Marcus Garvey with the vision of one Africa, one nation, one people, one economy, one solution. Or Marcus Garvey Movement, Convention of the Negro People of the World, New York, 1920, an organization of 11 million Africans. There you go. Think at that time, we were less than 500 million people, Africans worldwide, And if you extrapolate that today with 1.5 billion, probably more, some people are speculating we are not far from 2 billion, they don't know, but at least 1.5 billion people, So you go times this figure almost by 4, if we have to repeats the same success, which we on the way to do under the lead of a chairman of and African internationalism, or the Garvey movement built independent African institutions such as the Black Star Line and the Negro World newspaper, creating our own economy, decolonizing our economy, our lives, negating colonialism, as chairman often puts it, or African martyr, Garvey was targeted by the FBI with bogus charges of mail fraud. He was put in federal prison, then deported and died when he was only 56. In 2017, then President Obama refused to pardon Garvey. Yeah, that is unforgivable. But anyway, the African Revolution, will definitely resurrect Marcus Garvey and punish those who betrayed the African people bourgeoisie, and of course the colonizers themselves. Yes, were the U.S. front of the African Revolution of the 60s. And it's really important because when we say the U.S. front of African Revolution, we want people to understand we are a dispersed nation and we are everywhere. Everywhere we are located, we constitute a front. So that was the PowerPoints developed by the Department of Agitation and Propaganda and the leadership of Director Kida. We just want to thank you for this powerful and magnificent PowerPoint presentation. So is this the last one? So I assume this is the last one. So we're going to continue our program. And if you just join us, what I would like you to do is to share. We are in a constant battle to win African people, to win the whole world, to side with the struggle for African independence. And when you join this program, you come to this program and we want you to be a participant, an anti-colonial participant. You become an anti-colonial, basically, actor by liking and by sharing. You're sharing because you unite the struggle against colonialism. So let's have hundreds and hundreds of likes, hundreds of sharing. Tell all your friends to do the same thing. And these are we guarantee that we are moving in the same direction and that we are winning. So next, in this program, yes, we're.
So sorry, there are more slides.
There are more slides. Okay, all right. So let's carry on. Thank you. So I was saying, this is the U.S. front of the African Revolution. We are everywhere, which means that we should build front of our struggle to unite and free the African nation and the African people everywhere. You hear what we're saying? We're saying to free the African people and the African nation everywhere, because African nation is wherever Africans are located. We are all part of one African nation. And the home of African nation is our homeland. And everywhere you are is a front. So we want you to join us to build that front. That's why we use that concept. Next slide, please. Malcolm X, a great African martyr of the 1960s in the U.S., instigator of the urban anti-colonial Black Power movement. You can see he was a giant. He really was a giant, and we are standing on his shoulders. That's why we made this day, the day he was assassinated, the day of African Martyrs. And this is another way of saying you can kill a revolutionary, but cannot kill the ideas of revolutionary Malcolm X. That can't be taken away from us. It's impossible. And the existence of our party is a living proof of it. Next one, please. Malcolm X brought the anti-colonial struggle of African people in the U.S. to the world stage, as you can see here with Fidel Castro, the leader for Cuban Revolution, because Malcolm X recognized the Black Revolution in the U.S. is a part of the global anti-colonial struggle and revolution. That's why he could be with people like Fidel Castro. Great picture. Or African martyr, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., assassinated by the U.S. government. And as you know, King mobilized widely, and he began to abandon his obedience to the colonizers, and that's a result of his assassination. Were African martyrs, Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, so young, but already advanced leaders of the struggle against colonialism, particularly against the United States, the center of a global world economy, the leadership of the whole colonial global economy. And so young people like leaders become people like Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, becoming the leaders of that struggle. So great freedom fighters. So we just salute you and we remember you. Yes, we're African martyr, as African Peace Society did in 1989. We told the whole world it was the United States government that killed, assassinated U.P. Newton, leader of the Black Panther, and a great, as you know, historical leader. We remember, of course, forever U.P. Newton. Or as we told you in the beginning, there are many people to remember. Many people remember. And some of the people, of course, are not dead yet, particularly the African prisoners of war. And there is a link, there is a connection, because if you just put you in prison because they want you dead. They want you dead. That's why they put people in prison. That's why they put our freedom leaders basically in prison. So here we have Edwards, Point Dexter, Mutulu Shakur, Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin, also known as H. Rap Brown, Leonard Peltier, indigenous anti-colonial freedom fighter, Sundiata Akoli, Mumia Bujamal, Jan Lahaman, and Jalil Mutaki. We say free them all, which mobilize everywhere to request the immediate release. Next. Here you have a chairman taking down the racist mural in St. Petersburg, and that was December 1966, the first act of Black Power. And he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Just imagine, she's sent to prison for fighting for freedom. That's the colonial relationship we have with the United States government. Next. Chairman Istela founded the African People's Socialist Party in May 1972. And that was a qualitative leap. That was a transformation in the struggle for Black liberation everywhere. That for the first time, a African working class is able to create its own political party and lead it, and also develop its own philosophy to inform its own struggle. And this is historical. And there is something, when Africa is free, it will be studied everywhere. throughout the African nation, and all the people were fighting for freedom as well. Were chairman founded African Socialist International, as I said, in 1981, in that historical Congress in Auckland, that the chairman initiated the creation of African Socialist International. And of course, you see me, it's such honor for me just to be next to a giant of the African national liberation struggle. Next one, please. The African People's Socialist Party is building the power to govern. We're not just explaining the world, we are transforming it. If you were in Ferguson after the assassination of Mike Brown, and you go back now today, you will see transformation initiated by the African People's Socialist Party. I want you want people to understand that. We not explain the world, but we're changing it. Or the chairman and APSP have always fought for African revolution wherever we are located. This is in France. You can see the chairman leading a mobilization of Africans in Europe. Africans that came from Germany, from Sweden, from France, of course, from Belgium, from London. And this is a sample of the people, in that African Liberation Day that took place in 2012. Or this is why the party was attacked by the FBI on bogus allegations of being under the influence of a Russian agent. The Sheikh says, when we say we are winning, it's real. We are impactful, it's real. We are influencing people around the world. We're influencing not just the masses, we're influencing the debate that leaders of opinion have to talk about, or even leaders of countries have to talk about. You can see the influence of African internationalism, or the influence of Chairman Omari. That's why it's being attacked, because we're being successful, we're winning, bringing the revolution back. Yes, we were. The party has built the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa defense campaign. As we say, everything we do is in the context of the 29th of July attack on Chairman Omari and also on the party and the Uhuru movements. The FBI is pursuing an effort basically to jail our leader, to dissolve our movement. And we're saying they will not succeed, they will not win. We are winning, and that's why we build this campaign. And I hope some of you who are watching this program will be part of it. Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Defense Campaign. You can join wherever you are. You don't have to be in the United States. You can initiate this campaign, take actions to win more people, to stand with the Uhuru Free, so that we can push back these attacks. And we believe we're going to push these attacks back. We're going to win these random struggle as well. Next, please. Here you have the Uhuru Free. You have, of course, Chairman on the left, and you have Phineas, the Chairwoman of African People's Solidarity Campaign, who has been fighting under the leadership of Chairman and African People's Party for a long time, since 1976. And we have Jesse Nebel, who is the chair of USM, which is another mass organization of the party that allows white people to join the Uhuru movement and the fight also for solidarity in the white community. So two solidarity forces. So that's why we say drop the charge against Uhuru Free. Next one. The counteroffensive is winning. Put the state on trial. And that was on September 3rd, 2024. I don't know, it should be, this is the date of the trial. And it is, we want to build everywhere. We want to have mountains of mobilization everywhere to put the state on trial. To put the state on trial. We want to win this, and we want you to be part of the solution by joining us today, being part of this campaign. Next slide. One Africa, one nation. And it is the only legitimate flag, because it is the flag of the African nation. It's higher than all the flags you see flying in Africa or in the Caribbean or anywhere else, you see black people with the colonial flag. Or okay, thank you so much. The Ashes Pop Department under the leadership of Dr. Kiri for producing this. So we have gone through this powerful PowerPoint, and we want you basically, if you just join, to begin to share or to join those who have been sharing or liking. It has to be a dynamic process. Share, like. And if you have any contribution, any question you want to make, just put it in a chat. This can be picked up throughout the presentation that will come after that. So what we're going to do, you saw the PowerPoints, and some of the African Martyrs are still very known today, particularly those from South Africa. A lot of people still know Steve Biko, Sowoko, particularly Steve Biko. And we have our leadership in South Africa, the director of Organization for African Work, who's also the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party in South Africa, Director Tafari, a young and dynamic organizer, restless organizer, working under very difficult conditions where sometimes there is no electricity, sometimes there is no connection because the colonial condition. Okay, so I was talking about the colonial conditions. It makes it difficult for us to have connection with our brothers and sisters around the world, particularly in South Africa. So Director Fari can't be on. The connection is bad. No electricity. This basically is an indictment of neocolonialism, of the betrayal of the revolution in South Africa under the leadership of ANC. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on to our next presenter, which is the president of International People Democratic Rule Movement, President Masamela Odom, and he's based in San Diego. And he's basically is going to do a presentation for INPIDUM. What is the African Martyrdom represent for INPIDUM today? So, Uhuru, President Masamela, welcome to the program. Straight from San Diego. Speak to the world.
Uhuru. Uhuru, it's really important to be here. I really appreciate being part of this this program today. Extremely vital program as we initiate, this call for everyone, not just in the Uhuru movement, everyone around the African world to pick up the mantle and take African Martyrs Day out into their communities, their townships, on the job, at your church, wherever it is. I think that our call for African Martyrs Day really moves apart from it really moves apart from the way in which some people look at our African martyrs, either through a process of deification, where these people are held up as godlike figures to be adored, but impossibility of living like them, or just simply in some sort of loathing manner, which once again remembers the people but does not call for people to live like them. I think that today is absolutely important, especially amidst the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back campaign, as well as the this is African History Month, right? But we're calling for people to live like our African martyrs, to celebrate the history of African resistance. So I just want to say that, I'm Masamela Odom, president of International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. I'd like to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the leaders of the African People's Socialist Party, and the Uhuru Movement. I would like to salute the organizers of this event today as well. African Martyrs Day is more than just a memorialization, as I was saying, of the death of our martyrs. It's a call for people to live like our martyrs. It is in this sense that today's event is of extreme political importance. It underscores the historical mission of the African People's Socialist Party, since 1972 to revive and complete the African Revolution of the 1960s. February 21st is the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, arguably the most significant African leader within the United States at that moment, since the heyday of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League in the first quarter of the century, and before the rise of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. African Martyrs Day was adopted in 1981 by the party, but we can in many ways see signs of the origins of the call for such a day as early as 1977. As chronicled in this book right here, Not One Step Backward, the Black Liberation Movement from 1971 to 1982. It records a speech given by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. On May 19, 1977, Chairman Omali Yeshitela spoke at an event in Tampa, Florida, honoring the birthday of Malcolm X in a speech entitled "Long Live Malcolm X, Revolutionary Martyr and True African Internationalist." Inside this book, but also found on the burningspear.com, you can find this speech. And here's an excerpt of this speech that Chairman gave. He says, Malcolm X was a socialist and a Black revolutionary. And although I imagine he must have participated in commemorative programs such as this one during his lifetime, he did more than that. He lived struggle and revolution. He acted out his belief in the right for African people to live in dignity, determining our own fate and controlling our own destiny. He was not someone who just popped up on posters, He was not just a nice guy, voted most popular by some Black college fraternity or sorority. He was a Black socialist, anti-colonialist, African internationalist revolutionary. Can you embrace that? Can you commemorate that? Can you pay homage to all that? I hope so, because that is what Malcolm X was about. So once again, you can find that speech on theburningspear.com underneath the title, Long Live Malcolm X, a Revolutionary Martyr and True African Internationalist. The imperialists killed Malcolm X and many other leaders in an attempt to push African people out of revolutionary struggle. We instead raise up their examples as a revolutionary standard to fight until our freedom is won. So it's in that sense that the African People's Socialist Party calls on all African revolutionaries of all countries to raise high in a revolutionary manner the heroic memory of our fallen martyrs, of all those in every city, village, community, where they failed as evidence of determination to fight every battle on every front until African liberty was won. So as noted, at the first Congress of the African People's Socialist Party held in Oakland, California in September 1981, a resolution was passed that marked the significance of Malcolm X in the struggle for our liberation of our people. The APSP reprinted this resolution inside the page of the Burning Spear, and you can also find it on the homepage of the APSP website, apspuhuru.org, to initiate this tradition that is important for advancing our struggle. So it's in this sense that we call on our movement and people all around to raise up the African martyr in every area of your work. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and read the resolution. The struggle of African people to liberate our national homeland, Africa, to resist oppression and exploitation, and to overthrow the system of imperialism and advance the cause of world socialism, has seen hundreds and thousands of people make the ultimate heroic sacrifice, the sacrifice of life itself. The history of our resistance has been written in blood and flames. It has been punctuated by the courageous examples of such African martyrs as Nat Turner, Steve Biko, Patrice Lumumba, Walter Rodney, Nihanda Nyakasi Kana, Fred Hampton, and Mark Clark, Amilcar Cabral, and Lawrence Mann, co-founder of the African People's Socialist Party. Historically, the oppressors of African people have attempted to turn history upside down and present the heroic examples of our freedom fighters as evidence of the futility, the hopelessness of our people for political independence, African liberation, and world socialism. In many instances, our people have in many instances, our oppressors have succeeded in demoralizing great numbers of our people by using examples of brutally murdered African freedom fighters to prove the invincibility of imperialism and the permanence of African oppression and exploitation. The African People's Socialist Party rejects and denounces this reactionary view of the bourgeoisie and calls on all African revolutionaries of all countries to proclaim February 21st, the anniversary of the 1965 imperialist assassination of Malcolm X, as the day of the African martyr. The African People's Socialist Party calls on all revolutionaries of all countries to take command of the history of our people's struggle for political independence, African liberation, and socialism by taking command of the definition of that history and resistance. The African People's Socialist Party calls on all revolutionaries of all countries to raise high, in a revolutionary manner, the heroic memory of all our fallen martyrs, of all those in every city, village, community, and country where they failed, as evidence of the determination of our people to fight every battle on every front until liberty has been won. The African People's Socialist Party calls on all African revolutionaries of all countries to initiate special ceremonies and programs in every community where an African revolutionary has fallen, and to raise the memory of our fallen freedom fighters to its proper revolutionary and historical significance. The African People's Socialist Party calls on all party members to win the masses within the U.S. and all the mass organizations where the African People's Socialist Party has influence to unite with the resolution. We call on every party, unit, region, and organization to take out this call to the masses and to actively work to institutionalize February 21st as the day of the African martyr, Uhuru. So I want to thank you all, and I'll pass it back to you, Secretary General Luwezi.
Great presentation from a President Masamela, straight in San Diego. As we said at the very beginning, we are everywhere, and everywhere we've been dispersed, we constitute in our struggle for African national liberation specific fronts. So you just heard from President Masamela, is the president of the International Freedom Democratic Movement, which is a mass organization to bring back the African working class to political life and advance and complete the Black Revolution of the 60s. So thank you so much, President Masamela.
SG.
Yes,
SG Luwezi.
Yes,
I wanted to also do one more thing, very practical, as a part of our call for people to initiate African Martyrs Day events now through the end of the month. You can and maybe we can bring up the homepage of the APSP website. So go to the homepage of apspuhuru.org. You can get it there. You can also get it through our blog, and you go down. You can click on the first article that appears. February 21st is African Martyrs Day. Click on that. There's a series of resources and even a sample agenda that you can use to build your events. We're calling on people to build a variety of events. The International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement today and throughout the week we're holding community rallies, potlucks, film screenings, studies, and things like that. So if we scroll down, if you click there, you can get a sample of the resolution that that I read. Here is even a sample overview. Sorry, we can go back. You can see a sample agenda, which would with the resources below. So introduction, you read, deliver an overview for the event, read African Martyrs Day resolution. You can have videos, films, speakers, and then discussion after that. And then we can use this to make a call to build the Hands Off Uhuru defense campaign. So in here you can get different talking points, access to flyers, but then if you go down below to the we've even linked in a variety of different media resources you can use, such as the Hands Off Uhuru campaign video, the 1970 film, The Murder of Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, Make It Plain, 30 years old now, but probably still the best documentary out there on the life of Malcolm. The Battle of St. Pete, and the Battle of St. Pete is absolutely important because we're talking about lifting up an African martyr, Tyron Lewis, but then calling, using this day to forward the resistance. So we got Marcus Garvey, Look for Me in the Whirlwind. There's a documentary on Patrice Lumumba, a documentary on Thomas Sankara, a very well done documentary, might I say. Walter Rodney documentary. We got Quilombo. You guys just heard about, everyone just heard about Zumbi dos Palmares of Brazil. So that's a motion picture on the life concerning violence, and even the 2000 film Lumumba. We found a YouTube video of the full film as well. The important thing about all these resources, since they are on streaming apps, the comrades behind enemy lines inside colonial prisons, multiple parts of wherever we are on Earth can use these resources as well, which I felt was important in pulling these things together. All of these resources here can be screened free of charge by people who have internet access. So, Uhuru, I wanted to just present this this agenda and these resources to everyone who is building African Martyrs Day events.
Oh, President Mr. Mera, united with this effort, I think it's great to build this documentation for the different films that we can watch to learn about our struggle, about our martyrs. I think it's fundamental. I think it's a part of creating this culture of remembering our martyrs on a daily basis, because that's fundamental. We fight, we resist, we die for our freedom every day. So we have to basically venerate, remember martyrs on a daily basis. So I salute this initiative, and we look forward to see the developments of what you just initiated, and we see what contribution we can make. So if you just join us, please, can you share, can you like, and if you have any comments you want to make it, and then we definitely do our best to address whatever you put there. So you are watching the African Martyrs Day on the 21st of February, the day the United States government decided to kill the giants of the African Revolution in the 60s, Malcolm X, and our party, the African People's Socialist Party, and the leadership of Chairman Omali Shela. We determined in October in 1981 in Auckland that the 21st February, every year, everywhere, it will be a day African people will commemorate the assassination, not just of Malcolm X, but all Black martyrs in these last 600 years of colonial oppression. So we're calling you to join us to organize bigger days, bigger commemoration, big events to make African Martyrs Days a cultural institution, an event that will last at least a month in every Black community. And this is a part of basically honoring paying basically our respect to those who died by continuing their struggle, by making sure every single one is remembered. So now we're going to move to the most important parts of these events. We're going to have the founder, the leader who created, who funded, who's still leading the African People's Socialist Party since May 1972. But he joined the struggle before that. As I said early on, he organized the first Black Power Act. We're not just explaining the world, but changing it. So the first Black Power Act to change the world in the U.S. front of the African national liberation struggle was made by Chairman Omali Stella. He launched the Burning Spear newspaper in the late 60s, which is today not just the oldest revolutionary paper, but also the oldest Black revolutionary newspaper. That's an incredible achievement. This is an incredible achievement. As you know, Chairman is a prolific orator, and he just published numerous books almost every year now. So he's a great contributor to the philosophy to change the world. In fact, he's a leading theoretician in the struggle against global colonial capitalism today in the world. And I hope everyone before the end of this program will definitely purchase one of his books. Chairman, as I said, created not just the African People's Socialist Party, but developed the strategies and tactics to advance the African revolution. And you can create anything, but the area or the domain of strategy and tactics is one of the most hard to do. And it has solved most fundamental problems of the Black revolution by developing, as I say, the strategy and tactics to complete the Black revolution. So, and as you know, because of its successful, because of its impact, not just on the Black people, on Africa, but its impact on the world stage. That's why it's being attacked by the FBI. So I want all of you who are listening, tell your friend, the chairman is going to come on now. Please share, and tell your friend, these the moments we're waiting for. So can you all welcome Chairman Omali Stella, the leader of the African Revolution and the leader of the effort to build a new, a real legitimate African nation. Whoa, Chairman Omali Stella.
Uhuru Comrade Secretary John Lueze, Kinshasa. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I want to express appreciation to everybody who has come on to this really important meeting on today. And I would also like to say that I feel that this program is tremendous. The PowerPoints that's been used, the presentation by Comrade President Masamela, and others, they've been profoundly significant and powerful. I think it's important for us to recognize this question of Martyrs Day and how it came to be that the African People's Socialist Party felt it absolutely necessary at our first Congress, held some 9 years after our founding in 1981, to put forth this resolution recognizing Martyrs Day. Because it's the party itself, the African People's Socialist Party, with our founding in 1972 by me and others who had participated in the struggle earlier than that, who had witnessed or experienced the assassinations, murders of our leaders, the people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Patrice Lumumba, overthrow of Nkrumah. We had experienced this major fundamental assault on the African Revolution. And we're determined not to go backwards in history, but that we had to move the struggle forward. But to do that, there were very serious things that had to be overcome. The repression of our people, the counterinsurgency that had been initiated against our revolution globally, that swept 3 continents at least. It swept all over Africa. We were being killed and overthrown in the Americas. It was happening not only with Malcolm and Martin Luther King, but we saw the murder also of Che Guevara, who was shown here in what we've been able to show in the PowerPoint, who met with Malcolm X, as did Fidel Castro. And of course, all over Africa, again, we saw this happening and throughout the United States, et cetera. So this counterinsurgency that was mounted by a reaction by colonial powers to crush the revolution, to take to determine that the colonized peoples around the world would never be free, that this social system that has its origin of exploitation and oppression in the enslavement of African people, the colonial domination of African people around the world. The assault by Portugal on Africa in 1415, that 600 years ago, that led to the emergence of the first time in history of a world economy that linked the entire world into a slave breeding, slave capturing colonial world, where a single economy emerged for the first time in world history, and that was an economy of parasitism, of stealing the wealth, the resource, the genius, the very soul of African and other oppressed peoples around the world. And our movement was trying to recover from that, and certainly in the mind of those of us who pulled the party together in our first Congress, it was determined that we had to recover from that. We would not go backwards. We were not going to go back to that situation where Africans had been reduced to simply begging the oppressor, begging the colonizers to be nicer to us, or to give us a better situation under our domination. We were not going to retreat to this position where we would be struggling for against the ideas in the heads of white people that gave them such supremacy of presence, as opposed to struggling for our own freedom, for our own rescue, our own agency to end the oppression of African people. And so the party was founded with the stated intent to complete that Black Revolution and not to go backwards. And this was different from what a lot of remaining forces were doing, because many had concluded that it was important not to try to have revolutionary organizations or to struggle to build a revolutionary party, but to build coalitions of all kinds of class forces that would be the primary means through which we would find some kind of accommodation under the colonial domination of our people that we were characterizing as white supremacy, or mischaracterizing as white supremacy, or mischaracterizing as something like a struggle against racism. So the party was founded for that. And as has been stated throughout this process that we're engaged in up to now, this discussion, this absolute necessity to promote the notion of the African martyr and the heroic stature of the people who fought and led this movement. It is, and the genius of revolutionaries that we've mentioned throughout this process is something that's quite evident. And right now, on September 3rd, the United States government plans to take me and the African Revolution to trial in the United States of America in Tampa, Florida. And I am being charged with, along with 2 other comrades who work in the Solidarity Front of the African People's Socialist Party, charged with being an agent for Russia. And we're charged that since we talked about reparations for African people, and since we talked about taking the United States to the World Court putting it on trial for a crime of genocide against African people. Since we participated in a conference sponsored by non-governmental agents in Moscow that was comprised of other people from around the world who were talking about the struggle for self-determination, that we were actually working for Russians, that we as African people, it was suggested, had no agency of our own. That was the Russians who had us to do this thing. It was the Russians who were responsible for us running campaigns in the United States for against reparations, raising reparations up on the agenda for the first time in the history of this country. It was the Russians, they said, that was responsible for the African People's Socialist Party work with United Nations forces who were traveling throughout the United States investigating the conditions of African people. It was the Russians who were responsible for our party collecting signatures on people, asking them to join with us, to support us in demanding that the United States be taken before the United Nations for violation of the United Nations Convention of the Prevention of the prevention and the punishment of the and prevention and punishment of the crime of genocide. This convention that was passed by the United Nations in 1948. It was the Russians, they said, that were responsible for that. They ignored the fact that in 1954, some 4 years after the passage of that by the United Nations, that African people did go to the United Nations attempting to charge the United States with the violation of that convention. They ignored the fact that Malcolm X himself had proclaimed loudly, criticizing the civil rights movement in this country for moving to take the United States to court inside the United States, as opposed to putting the United States itself on trial in the world court. So this is what we were charged with. It denied that we had any agency, and now we're supposed to go to trial in September. And the trial is structured in such a fashion that they would struggle to deny us the right to even mention any of the history that we've recounted in this meeting up to now. The suggestion is that African people have no history of resistance. We have no history of fight back, that we would be denied the ability to talk about the kinds of crimes that's been committed against Africa and African people historically, that brought us to the shores of the United States itself and scattered us at gunpoint throughout the world. This is how the trial the attempt to construct this trial will happen. And one of the things that gives this question of African Martyrs Day such great significance, because they want to cover the history, they want to cover the evidence, the fact that we have agency as Black people. We're not beasts. We are not brutes who have no history, who have no history of resistance or history at all. I just want to share something quickly with you, if I may. It's an interesting book that was written by a man whose name is Jose Jaffe. It's called A History of Africa. And in this book, among the things that is really interesting is that it recognizes the history of betrayal within the African community, within the African world that we've had to confront, and also recognize the history of resistance that's always been here. And it talks about how in those instances where the resistance was greatest and most pronounced and most consistent were in those societies in Africa that was characterized primarily by collectivism, by communalism, as it might be characterized. And I just want to share this with you briefly, because this is again something from Jose Jaffe, and the title of the book is A History of Africa. And in here he says that resistance in the 14th and 15th centuries was as sporadic as were the colonialist incursions of those centuries. In the 16th century, the slave traffic and expropriation, physical and spiritual, by force exerted on the people's bodies by slavers and soldiers and on their minds by missionaries, produced an equal and opposite reaction of resistance. But it also produced a growing and proportional collaboration each reaction, resistance, and collaboration reflected a different aspect of the pre-colonial societies. The one, their communal, the other, their despotic nature, but there were despots who also led mass resistance. There was a definite social cause for this. In brief, the greater relative weight of the communal over the class components of the old society is now being torn asunder by European colonialism. Communal, which is what we are fighting for today, which is what existed in our Africa historically. And so there is architectural evidence of resistance in the numerous forts built along the coast and rivers by all colonial countries. The fort of Elmina in Ghana, the Luanda fort, the Dutch castle in Cape Town, the Portuguese Fort Jesus in Mombasa, the fort of Gorée, the fort in Zanzibar, the later French forts in Senegal and Guinea, in Mali, the foreign legions fortresses in West and North Africa, and the numerous British, Danish, Italian, Portuguese, Dutch, Belgian, Spanish, and German forts were not built for comfort, but for two main reasons. One, the slave traffic and slavery, the other to contain the tribes. One then was to contain slave rebellions, the other to contain rebellions of the free non-slave peoples. The Cape Town castles was built to hold down the slaves and to ward off Khoikhoi attacks. Robben Island, like Gorée, was used to imprison rebellious slaves, but Gorée was used also and indeed mainly for the mass export of slaves. According to a French count, M. Diaye informed me 20 million of them passed through the little tragic doors in the slave house to the Atlantic outside, while a Dutch count puts the figure at 40 million. 1/3 of those who were dragged over the rocks into the little boats that took them to the big slave ships at anchor in Dakar Bay died on the Middle Passage to the Americas. The Gorée curator and Leopold Senghor put the total number murdered by European slavers at 200 million. How many more would have been killed had they gone meekly to slavery can only be imagined. The death toll was about 1 in every 3. 1 in every 3 of the 600 million Africans who lived during those centuries of dark Europe and Africa. The death toll was created by the mode of the slave traffic, the long journey to the coast, the violent seizure of slaves, the resistance, et cetera, And so talking about the lack of food, the long voyage, et cetera. So we're talking about 1 out of every 3 of a third of the 600 million people who lived on the continent of Africa that at that time died. This is not something that they want us to talk about in court. This is something they would have removed from history. This is one reason why we talk about the resistance and the need to discuss the question of African martyrdom and African martyrs. So as you can see from the discussion that we've had up to now, we have pointed out, reasonably so, some of the leaders of the African Revolution, people like Lumumba, people like Nkrumah, people like Biko and Sobukwe, and a host of other people who played critically important roles in leading the revolution. But there were millions of African people who were nameless, whose name we don't know. It's important to raise up these people who we do know, because they became examples for our oppressors. They became the examples of why we shouldn't struggle. They became the examples of, if you fight back, this is what we would do to you. This is what July 29th, 2022, when the United States government attacked our revolution in St. Petersburg, Florida, and in St. Louis, Missouri. It was a statement to the people that if you stand up, we'll come to your house at 5 o'clock in the morning or earlier, like they did in 1969 when they came and murdered Fred Hampton. They've set an example to the people that you should be terrified. This is why you should not struggle. And what we are saying at African Martyrs Day shows us the evidence of exactly why we have to struggle. Because there is no way that you can passively accept slavery. Nobody in history has ever done it, and we will not do it. And despite what the U.S. government and others would do to erase our history of resistance and the fact that we have always fought back, we fought back in numbers that's incalculable right now. The massive resistance is always there. It's there even without leadership, and that's why it's so important that the party, the African People's Socialist Party, the organization of the African working class should take this Martyrs' Day and build confidence among the masses of the people, take it to the people, take it and all those unnamed figures in every community, every village, every place on the continent of Africa, raise them up and as victims of colonial terror, a victim of a colonial mode of production, victim of a system that came into existence for the exact purpose of enslaving and killing our people, etc. So that we take this weapon away from them, this weapon of terror, this weapon of fear, of death, fear of punishment, fear of oppression. We take it from them and raise it up as something that glorifies the resistance of our people, glorify those who fought back, hold them up high so that everybody can say, this is what we want to be like. This is how we want to live in the struggle of resistance. You know, historically, people have held up martyrs against oppression. And I look at even how the examples that's been used that's important to African people in this country, in the United States, I should say in particular, the examples have been used even going biblically, where quoted sometimes by Huey P. Newton, a brilliant revolutionary leader himself, who took from biblical references the whole notion of death. Where is your sting? Prison, where is your sting? That was something comes from Corinthians in the Bible that recognized that even though oppression is there, prison is there, death is there. Like Fred Hampton said so many years ago, that you can jail a revolutionary, but you can't jail a revolution. You can kill a freedom fighter, but you can't kill freedom fighting. And that's what African Martyrs' Day is helping us to promote. And that's why the African People's Socialist Party, the organization of the African working class, has to raise up this question of martyrdom, not because we want people to die, but because we want people to recognize there's something worse than death and slavery, and that is oppression, and that we have a responsibility to raise up the struggle of our people and to continue the struggle, because the human will itself is opposed to slavery. And the human will spirit requires us to fight for our freedom, and we cannot allow that to be crushed, not despite all the brutality that's been imposed on African people, a brutality that's so extreme that it would be difficult to even speak about it in public, and for children to be able to hear about it because of how it would provide perpetual nightmares for them unless it drives them into the struggle. That's why we have to raise up the question of martyrs. Our children should know of martyrs. Our children and their children should know of martyrs, and even with the conquest of freedom that will come as a consequence of African people and African population determined to make revolution so that we can have a proletarian liberated nation, that this is something that we will hold high even after the conquest. The martyrs, those who put their lives on the line. And again, not just the ones who everybody's aware of, but the ones in those villages and townships and provinces and communities of Black people throughout the world. This is what we have to do. So we say that we have a responsibility to really make February 21st, African Martyrs' Day, something that is concretized for our people everywhere in the United States, around the world, so that the African martyr is something that's held up to be emulated, and not to allow them to use death and brutality as a means to keep us and frighten us and terrorize us out of our struggle for freedom. So I want to thank you for what's been done. If you're not a member of the African People's Socialist Party, you ought to join the African People's Socialist Party, and should do everything you can to contribute to the struggle. Let's establish Martyrs' Day events and programs all around the world. Let's use February 21st and say Malcolm X didn't die in vain. Let's say Patrice Lumumba didn't die in vain. Let's say none of those people who murdered Fred, whether it's Fred Hampton or Che Guevara or any of the other forces, didn't die in vain. We will fight and we will win. And we will do whatever is necessary to make that happen. We are winning. Uhuru, ease, relate to Africa, forward to victory, relentless, vanguard up.
Uhuru, Chairman, what an incredible presentation. Uhuru, Chairman, thanks so much for this powerful presentation. And if anyone did know much, I would say about the concept of African martyrdom, why the party initiated this resolution 1981. I think you must be more than clear now. So what everyone should be doing, if you haven't done so, please share this presentation to all your friends. If you're on social media, also you can also circulate the slogan just heard the chairman instructed us. Malcolm X did not die in vain. We will fight. We will win. This should circulate. We should fly the social media with that slogan. Everywhere you're located, you should put that in social media. Malcolm X did not die in vain. We will fight and we will win. Thank you, Chairman, for this powerful presentation. And as I said, I want everyone who has not shared to share that presentation right now. We're going to move the agenda to the next part of our program. We're going to make an appeal for resources. You all know we're going to put the state on the trial. They put the chairman on the trial. We say put the state on trial. And we can't do it by ourselves. We cannot do it with you. We can only win with your participation. And your participation here today, we mean by the resources you provide, you put at the disposal of the party so we can carry out this counter-offensive to defeat this attack on the chairman and also on the whole free on our party by the FBI, by the colonial U.S. settler state. So we need resources. Resources means money. We need money. We need $300 for tonight. $300. And we have roughly some 30 minutes to make that possible. So who's going to be the first person to donate? When you donate, you're also saying Malcolm X did not die in vain. Fred Hampton did not die in vain. We say we are materialists. We say spread these slogans, but also give resources to implement these slogans, to take it wider around the world. So your resources will help us do that. $300. And I know $300 doesn't seem like a lot. And it's something we can do, and we should do it before the end of the program. Let's live like the martyrs. Live like Malcolm X. Live like Marcus Garvey. Live like Steve Biko. Live like Thomas Sankara. Sky's the limit. $300. Who is going to be the first one to open the accounts so we can raise the $300 we need to make to equip the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa campaign so that we can win. And if your participation, we will win before September. You can make it possible. The masses are the makers of history. Let's make it possible, comrades, brothers and sisters, where you are. Make it possible. Let not just explain the word, let's change it. So I'm in connection with the chat monitors, so they'll let me know if anything comes in. Today, as we've been saying all along, we have made the decision that the fear of death will not derail the African revolution. The African revolution is coming. The African revolution is coming. The African internationalism is spreading every day, every corner in the world. People come in touch with African internationalism. And we want you to be part of that. And the conference today, the webinar today, is a part of that, of not just changing, not just explaining the world, it's a part of changing the world. So I just want to remind you, our goal is what? Is $300, which is basically $30 10 times. So 30 people can donate $10 and we will achieve our goals. So I myself, I'm one of those 30 people. So we needed 29 people. We just need $10, 30 people, no, 29 people, and we will achieve our goals. Let's do it, brother and sister, comrade. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's give ourselves the means to carry out our program. Let's give ourselves the necessary resources. Yes,
yes, they can go to apspuhuru.org/donate. If the chat moderators can put that in the chat on Facebook and on YouTube, that's apspuhuru.org/donate.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Ekenge. To donate, please go to apspuhuru.org/donate. That's the place you should go. That's the place you should make that contribution. By giving your contribution, you're uniting with that slogan you heard from the chairman. We will fight like Malcolm X, and we will win. Malcolm X did not die in vain. Martin Luther King didn't die in vain. Kwame Nkrumah didn't die in vain. And all the other giants, leaders of anti-colonial struggles did not die in vain. And we want you to put that in practice. Unite with the program today. Let's raise the $300. As I said, I volunteer myself. So we need 29 more people to donate £30, and we will get that.
So I want to thank Comrade President of NPDM, Matsamela Odom, for his contribution.
Great. World President Matsamela.
So we need, and we got Comrade Lisa with APSC who donated $25. We've got also $50. Jaribu, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, on YouTube.
That's great. So we're getting near. I didn't do the counting, so I'm sure we're getting close to $100. So we almost third of the way to our goal. Keep the donations coming. Getting the resources is a part of the anti-colonial struggle. We are materialists. What we say is what we do. And with your participation, with your contribution, then we will do what we say as well. So we need those resources so we can continue to build a campaign to defend the whole free, to make sure the state, the colonial state, is defeated on in September during this trial, which is, of course, is an attack on the African Liberation Movement, is an attack on Africa, is an attack on our party, is an attack on every anti-colonial struggle taking place in Africa, for the simple reason, but the African People's Socialist Party is basically the link, the cement, is the glue that brings all these struggles together, is the glue that explains in our time the significance of the anti-colonial struggle of Black people, and of course, the anti-colonial struggle for all the people from around the world. So this attack is an attack on Africa. Indeed, it's also an attack on every other oppression, colonized people trying to be free, because we know the headquarters of the United States imperialism, or the headquarters of the colonial global, the most important colonial center is the United States. And the African People's Socialist Party is located inside the center of the colonial, the leading global colonial power. So it means that the struggle led by the African working class, led by our party, is the most significant struggle as far as the struggle against colonial domination for all the people on the planet are concerned. An example, just don't look that far. Look at the significance of the struggle of the 60s, the Black Revolution of the 60s during the Vietnam War. It was significant that the struggle of Black people in the United States almost opens to another front. The U.S. has to defend colonialism in Vietnam. We also have to defend colonialism inside the United States. That's how significant the Black Liberation Struggle was. And this was recognized by the leadership of the Vietnamese themselves. We also received the leader of the Black Panther Party at that time. So we just want everyone who's listening to join this appeal for resources. We're asking for $300, and we already have probably no less than maybe around $100. Keep the donations coming, and if you are on social media, please let us know when you donate, so this can be acknowledged, so you can know that we received those resources. And as I've been saying all along, these resources are critical. They are integral part of our struggle to defeat the U.S. colonial state. It's a part of our counteroffensive, and the resources are necessary for us to win. Just think about it. The resources the United States colonial state has just to attack our movement. They have access to the banks. They have access to the corporation. They have access to the colonial budgets for all kinds. And we have access just to our bases, those who unite with the struggle to end colonialism. So it's really important that you participate. It's really important that we put money that is needed so that we can develop this struggle. We can, take the struggle for this counteroffensive where it needs to be to the level it needs to be. We need you. Of course, we need you to join. We need you to join. We need to bring those resources so we can fight. We can have all the necessary tools we need so we can definitely defeat these reactionary, these counterinsurgency assault on our leadership, on our movement. And we can only do it with your participation. So I've seen some questions here. We haven't forgotten about those questions. So after this appeal, or within the closing remarks, we'll come back to those questions. There are two questions here I can see. So is there any updates on the donation?
Yes, we need $195 to reach our goal.
We need $195 to reach our goal.
Yes.
Whoa. Thank you so much to those who donate. And for those of us who have joined this program, this webinar, we are now almost towards I would say 2/3 of the way of our program. We are making an appeal for resources. And we need those resources. We need to build this campaign. And this campaign is a historical campaign. It's a campaign that can't fail. It's a campaign that is going to win. And when we are confident we're going to win, because we know everybody who is part of this program, everyone who's listening, everyone who follows Chairman and the whole movement, we are confident in our victory. But that confidence comes from the unity you display with the program, all the work we do. And we need right now $195 so we can reach our goal of $300. Keep these donations coming, comrade. Reach out to your friends, the comrade who supports, to listen to this program, who can support this movement, this struggle. Let them know every contribution is needed. Every contribution is needed, and we need to meet our goals, and we need to be ready for September. And for tonight, it's just $300. As I say, it's 30 people giving $10 or 10 people giving $30 each. We need to achieve it. Please help us make it, help us reach our goals so we can move this program. This is African Martyrs Days. You've been listening the presentation made by Chairman Omari Stella, and that's why I keep saying this. If you on social media, please share this program. It's a must. Africans need to commemorate. We need to remember. We need to emulate. We need to live like our martyrs. Our martyrs, they are the ones who show us the road of integrity. When I say the road of integrity, are those who came to the conclusion that freedom is better than death. And basically, you can achieve freedom where there is no sacrifice, and they have showed us the way. And you can see the struggle taking place around the world. Palestine and other places, people have come to the conclusion they have to be free. And the fear of death will not work. People have to be free. Africans have to be free. Everywhere we have to be free. We have to be in charge of our destiny for our lives. And Africa has to be united. Africa has to be industrialized. Africa has to be developed. Our people, everywhere we are located, we need to have a future. We have all the resources in the world, in Africa, and our connection, our relationship will definitely kickstart the fastest industrialization of African nation, fastest industrialization ever seen on the planet. Connection for Africa, African resources, and African people. Only thing is missing, complete the Black Revolution in the 60s. And the chairman is a leading force, leading organizer, leading theoretician of that struggle. And the state has attacked him and our other leaders of our movement. And we're saying we're going to put the U.S. colonial state on trial. And we can only do that with your participation, with your contribution. That's what we're asking you to help us meet that goal. Let's meet that goal. We can do it, comrade. We can do it. We can raise those resources. We can raise the $300. There is nothing the Black Revolution can do. As you know, we are only capable of achieving these goals with your unity. So we are asking you to keep this donation coming. Reach out to our friends you feel they can contribute, they can donate. Let them know they can donate. The account is open. Only thing you have to do, go to apspuhuru.org/donate. Go to apspuhuru.org/donate. That's the place to go. That's the place to show your unity in action. That's the way we're going to raise the $300. How many minutes do we have left? Chat monitor, can you keep me on that point?
And also, we've raised another $50 from Chairman Amalia Shatella. So thank you, Chairman. We need $145. We're almost there, everyone.
We just need $145. Okay.
The International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, IEC donated $50.
Okay. I'm going to add $15 myself, so to make it $25. So who's missing now? Who's doing the maps?
1 second.
Work on it. Who chairman? Who the IC of NPDM? So
we're $85 away from our goal.
$85. $85. Anyone in the audience, in the social media there, who has made a decision to say Malcolm X did not die in vain? And someone was saying he will not pronounce the name of Malcolm X in vain. He would donate. Anyone? Malcolm X didn't die in vain. I'm sure there are millions of Africans ready to say that. Maybe want those Africans, those who can, to go to apspuhuru.org. Donate. Go to apspuhuru.org and /donate. apspuhuru.org/donate. We showed by $85. We just need $85, comrade. We need those $85 so we can win the day. When we say we will fight, we will win. Let's fight for those $85. Let's bring forth any imagination people have to win more people, more of our supporters, more our friends, to help us meet this goal. So we can have definitely the $300 we set to have for ourselves today. So you are listening to the webinar organized by Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa. And today we're hosting the African webinar. And today is the 21st of February, the day of the assassination of Malcolm X by the United States colonial government. And in 1981, the African People's Socialist Party decided that The 21st of February is going to be the day of commemoration of all African martyrs. It's the African Martyrs Day. It doesn't matter where you're located, in US, in Canada, in Jamaica, Brazil, Colombia, Africa, Papua, Guinea, New Caledonia, in Europe, wherever you are. Today is the day of African martyrs. And we know there are lesser known people who are also African martyrs, those who resist every day against African oppression, against the colonial assault on African lives every day, those who fight for African dignity, African lives everywhere. And they are fallen comrades who fall every day because we fight every day. So we're saying the 21st is African Martyrs Days. And the 21st has to be understood in the context of the effort we're trying to do until we develop enough capacity to launch a 1 month long African Martyr Days. That's what we would like to do. And we can only do it for the victories you allow us to have. When I say you allow us to have, the African masters who are supporting every program we do, particularly this program. So that's what we're asking you to help us meet our goals of today. Go to apsp.org/donate so we can have the $300 and we can move our program. I know many of you are waiting to know what's the rest of the program it's going to do, it's going to say. So we appreciate everyone's participation and everyone who has shared, particularly those who shared widely and those who liked also this program. We say thank you to you. And we thank also anyone who contributed to this resource appeal. So I'm going to do one more check to see where we are, what we have, what is missing. Any updates?
Yes, we actually needed $80, and that has been donated by the Deputy Chair of the African People's Socialist Party, Deputy Chair Una Zanaya Shatella.
Whoa, Deputy
So
Chair.
we have reached our goal.
We reached our goal. Right. Thank you so much to everyone who donates. And we have reached our goal. And what we're going to do now, we're going to move to the next part of our program. We're going to make announcements. And as you know, we fight every single day. There's no day the whole movement is not organizing to move forward anti-colonial struggle everywhere. So I'm going to make this announcement out. Take a pen, take a note of this announcement so you don't forget to join us on a specific day that suits you, but there are lots of announcements. So the first one we're going to do, build African Martyrs Day events in your area. Go to apsp.org for more information. Use this sample program that we have developed for you. Read the talking points, use the resolution, take leadership, and build African Martyrs Days. That's the first announcement. The next announcement, join the counter-offensive to stop the FBI attacks on the African People's Socialist Party and the African Liberation Struggle. Drop the charges against the Uhuru Free. Sign the petition. Sign the emergency response. Pledge for immediate text messages regarding the trial. Read the court documents. Follow our events and volunteer. Go to handsoffuhuru.org. And the next announcement, on Saturday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition presents the bold anti-war statement that sparked FBI raids, a webinar on the second year anniversary of the Russian-Ukraine war. Reserve your spot in this important event by going to handsoffuhuru.org. Register. And the next slide. On Wednesday, February 28th at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, join the African People's Solidarity Committee for their monthly webinar, calling on the white people viewing today's event, register and participate in this event that will address current events from the perspective of African internationalism and how white people can take a genuine anti-colonial stand by working under the leadership of African Revolution. Register at apscuhuru.org/webinar. So the next announcement is the 2024 World Solidarity Movement National Convention takes place on March 9th and 10th in St. Louis, Missouri. As the colonial ruling class escalates the genocidal colonial terror against African, Palestinian, indigenous, and oppressed peoples, and anti-colonial resistance sweeps the world from Gaza to Burkina Faso to North St. Louis. Now is the time for white people to stand in anti-colonial solidarity and demand no more genocide in our name. Today is the last day for early bird registration. Go to nomoregenocide.eventsb.com. Next slide. African National Women Organization calls on Black women and our supporters to attend the 2024 Black Women's Convention, an annual gathering of our membership and working class Black women who believe a better world is possible. We organize these conventions because we believe that we must struggle against the devastating impact of colonialism on the lives of African women around the world. African women from every city, town, province, country, island, and village must attend this convention. Join virtually, online, or in person in St. Louis, Missouri, from March 22nd to March 24th. Go to convention.annualhuru.org. Go to convention.annualhuru.org. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Burning Spear TV on YouTube to catch every episode of the O'Malley Taught Me Sunday Study. O'Malley Taught Me Sunday Studies will resume in April 2024. So like and subscribe today. Slide 8. Uhuru Tools and Speakers Bureau is an institution of the African People's Socialist Party that coordinates events and tools for Chairman O'Malley, Stella, and other party speakers and leaders. Book Chairman O'Malley and Uhuru and other Uhuru movement speakers for your campus or organization now. Email info@uhurutools.com or call 727-914-3621. I'll repeat this. Email info@uhurutools.com or call 727-914-3621. And for more events, including upcoming African Martyrs Days events in your area, go to theburningspear.com/events. That was the final announcement. So I want to thank you, everyone who listened to this announcement. And we look forward to see you in one of those, if not all of those announcements. And so we're going to move our program. Now we're going to have the closing remarks by myself and the chairman.
Uhuru, SG Loazy, before we close, I just wanted to thank Comrade Sayero for his donation of $20. So we've raised a total of $320. Uhuru.
Thank you so much. So it's really important for Africans everywhere to realize that when you colonize, there is no natural death. We don't die naturally. Doesn't matter how we die. We don't die naturally. Every aspect of our lives, it dominates. It's colonized. It's determined by the colonizers. What we eat, what we produce, where we live, where we go, where we work, every aspect. And that determines the quality of life. And when you colonize, the quality of life is poor. Generally speaking, we have the middle classes, people like that, but generally speaking, the quality of life for Africans is poor. We live in poverty, difficult conditions. We face the police on the street everywhere. On the homeland, we go wars imposed on us. We die in 1,000 ways, from colonial mosquito, colonial landslide, colonial earthquake, you name it. And so it's really important that we politicize every death in the black community. Every single death has to be summed up as a colonial death, as a colonial assassination, as a colonial murder, because that's what it is. And that's when we say we commemorate martyrs who are well known, like Malcolm X, Lumumba, and so on. They are also martyrs, less known. But we also have African people who die just not even knowing what they're dying. They think they're dying from just natural causes, natural illnesses. No, it's not. We all die from colonialism. And that's what's necessary to raise the level of martyrdom significance in our community, so people begin to understand, appreciate, emulate the significance of being an African martyrs. It's not something that we take basically lightly, and there is no way we can be free without sacrifices. In fact, everyone whose life has gone, who've taken away, is the lives of those Africans that is a call to all of us to follow them. It's like people investing in people who are alive to live like them, because we need examples, we need models, and there is no way we can be free without sacrifices. So we have to hold dearly anyone who died in the struggle for Black freedom. That's basically what I can say. And we're going to call on the chairman to do the closing remarks. Oh, Chairman.
Comrade Secretary General Louise Kinshasa, and to everyone who played a role in making this Martyrs Day event occur on today. I want to salute you and everybody who's participating in this event, and to say that one of the things that makes this event important is the fact that Africans have to be in charge of our life, our future, and that this future presupposes that African people have to overcome our oppression and exploitation that began some 600 years ago. This is one of the things that makes the issue of martyrdom so important for us, because it makes it necessary for us to recount, to recap, to look at the history of struggle and history of resistance. It makes us proud as a people that we've never surrendered, that we fought from the very beginning of the attempt by someone to dominate us, to take away our humanity, our resources that continue up to now. This effort to starve our people, to drive us out of our Africa, to disperse us, even up to this point. The horrible, horrific violence that's been imposed on Black people around the world, they all have their origin in the initial attack on Africa that led to the creation of this social system. And while we correctly lament the consequences of that in terms of how we face exploitation, oppression everywhere we are, the thing that helps us, though, is holding up these martyrs, and it reminds us that the oppressors didn't simply attack our Africa and leave us with a situation in Africa. They dispersed the African revolution all around the world. So the fight for our liberation is not something that's simply happening in a particular location on the continent of Africa, or a particular location on the island in the Caribbean, or a particular place in what is now characterized the United States, etc. It is something that happens globally, everywhere we are. The African Revolution has been taken to those places, and the struggles that we are faced with in Germany and there in England, and the struggles we are faced with in the United States, etc., have their origin in that initial attack on Africa. And we have to rectify, we have to actually consciously be engaged in reversing the verdict of imperialism And that's what African Martyrs Day reminds us of, that we will never surrender, that we will continue to struggle. And as we say, no compromise, no surrender, that to Africa is free, to Africa is united, to African people globally are liberated and united. And we are fundamental to change in the world. And this is one of the things that makes the struggle that we're involved in so important. We cannot allow them to identify our struggle as one that's limited to Haiti or limited to the United States or limited to some other place like that. The whole rotten social construct rests upon the backs and enslavement of Africa. We are every place, and we have been critical to the construction of this oppressive social system, and the liberation of African people will lead to the emancipation of all the oppressed and working peoples of the world. So free Africa, remember the African martyrs, hold up the African martyrs as evidence of our determination to be free and united with the peoples of the world in creating the new world that we have to have. That overturns the social system that has its beginning with the attack on our Africa. Uhuru.
Well, Chairman, it's been a pleasure and an honor as usual to have you as the leader of the African People's Socialist Party, the leader of the Uhuru movement, but also the leader of the rising anti-colonial African struggle that is taking place around the world. And I would like to thank everybody who played a role in organizing this, and everyone who contributed to the fundraiser goals, and everyone who shared this program. And we look forward to see you in our next program. Definitely, we look forward to that. Thank you so much to everyone. We will say, as the chairman said, no compromise.
No surrender.
No compromise.
No surrender.
Surrender.
Live and fight like Malcolm X. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Ease,
Relentless.
relentless.
The Africa.
Relentless. Vanguard up.
Vanguard up. Uhuru,
Yeah.
Chairman. Uhuru, comrade. Thank you.
Afrika mobimba e tokangi maboko tozali kotala e tolati mokuya ata maloba te Kongo na bana Afrika baleli o Medi Ben Barka Medi nzela na yo ya bato nyonso Medi nzela na yo ya Lumumba Medi nzela na yo ya Che Guevara Medi nzela na yo ya Malcolm X Medi nzela na yo ya Umnyope Medi nzela na yo ya Felix Mumie Medi nzela na yo ya Nguyen Van Choi Medi nzela na yo ya Camilo Cienfuegos Medi nzela na yo ya Oji ya Enda Medi nzela na yo ya Camilo Torres Medi nzela na yo ya Abdelkader Medi nzela na yo ya Andre Machua Medi nzela na yo ya Simon Kimbangu Medi nzela na yo ya Albert Lutuli Medi nzela na yo ya Boganda Oh, ya tiers-monde Oh, ya libération, ya pas peuple Un vieux que je considère toujours jeune m'a dit un jour Mon petit, tout homme doit mourir un jour Mais toutes les morts n'ont pas la même signification